All right, bedtime book for Tuesday, starting on page 396. He blew his whistle. Everybody stopped shouting, Expelliarmus, and the last couple of wands clattered to the floor. Well, that was pretty good, said Harry, but we've overrun. We better leave it here. Same time, same place next week? Sooner, said Dean Thomas eagerly, and many people nodded in agreement. Angelina, however, said quickly, The Quidditch season's about to start. We need practices, too. Let's say next Wednesday night, then, said Harry, and we can decide on additional meetings then. Come on, we better get going. He pulled out the Marauders map again and checked it carefully for signs of the teachers on the 7th floor. He let them all leave in threes or fours, watching their tiny dots anxiously as they returned safely to their dormitories. The Hufflepuffs to the basement corridor that also led to the kitchens, Ravenclaws to a tower on the west side of the castle, the Gryffindors along the corridor to the 7th floor and the Fat Lady's portrait. That was really, really good, Harry, said Hermione, when finally it was just her, Harry, and Ron left. Yeah, it was, said Ron enthusiastically as they slipped out of the door and watched it melt back into the stone behind them. Did you see me disarm Hermione, Harry? Only once, said Hermione. I got you loads more than you got me. I did not only get you once, I got you at least 3 times. Well, if you're counting the one you tripped over your own feet and knocked the wand out of my hand. They argued all the way back to the common room, but Harry was not listening to them. He had one eye on the Marauders map, but he was also thinking of how Cho had said he made her nervous. Chapter 19, The Lion and the Serpent. Harry felt as though he were carrying some kind of talisman inside of his chest over the following 2 weeks, a glowing secret that supported him through Umbridge classes, and even made it possible for him to smile blandly as he looked into her horrible, bulging eyes. He and the DA were resisting more under her very nose, doing the very thing that she and the Ministry had most feared, and whenever he was supposed to be reading Wilbert Slinkhard's book during her lessons, he dwelled inside on the satisfying memories of their most recent meetings. Remembering how Neville had successfully disarmed Hermione, how Colin Creevey had mastered the impediment jinx just after 3 meetings' hard effort, how Parvati Patel had produced such a good reductor curse that she had reduced the table carrying all the sneakoscopes to dust. He was finding it almost impossible to fix a regular night of the week for the DA meetings, as he had already had to accommodate 3 separate Quidditch practices, which were all often rearranged depending on the weather conditions. But Harry was not sorry about this. He had a feeling that it was probably better to keep the timing of their meetings unpredictable if anyone was watching them. It would be hard to make a pattern. Hermione soon devised a very clever method of communicating the time and date of the meeting to all the members in case they needed to change it on short notice, because it would look suspicious if people from all different houses were seen crossing the Great Hall to talk to each other too often. She gave the members of the DA a fake galleon. Ron became very excited when he saw the basket at first, convinced that she was actually giving out gold. You see the numerals around the edge of the coin, Hermione said, holding one up for examination in the light in the 4th meeting. The coin gleamed fat and yellow in the light of the torches. On a real galleon, that's just a serial number referring to the goblin who cast the coin. On these fake coins, though, the numbers will change to reflect the time and date of the meeting. The coins will grow hot when the date changes, so if you're carrying them in your pocket, you'll be able to feel it. We'll take one each, and when Harry has set the dates for the next meeting, we'll change the numbers on his coin because I've put a protean charm on them, and they'll all change to mimic his. A blank silence greeted Hermione's words. She looked around at all the faces upturned to her, rather disconcerted. Well, I thought it was a good idea, she said uncertainly. I mean, even if Umbridge asked us to turn it in our pockets, there's nothing fishy about carrying a galleon, is there? But, well, if you don't want to use them... You can do a protean charm? Said Terry Boot. Yes, said Hermione, but that's a Newt standard, isn't it? He said weakly. Oh, said Hermione, trying to look modest. Oh, well, yes, I suppose it is. Then how come you're not in Ravenclaw? He demanded, staring at Hermione with something close to wonder. With brains like yours. Well, the sorting hat did consider putting me in Ravenclaw during my sorting, but it decided on Gryffindor in the end. Does that mean we're using the galleons? There was a murmur of assent, and everybody moved forward to collect one from the basket. Harry looked sideways at Hermione. You know what these remind me of? No? What's that? The Death Eater's scars. Voldemort touches them, and they all feel their scars burn, and they know they've got to join him. Well, yes, that is where I got the idea, but you'll notice I decided to engrave the date on the bits of metal rather than on the member's skin. Yeah, I prefer your way, said Harry, grinning, as he slipped the galleon into his pocket. I suppose the only danger with these is one might actually accidentally spend them. Fat chance, said Ron, who was examining his own fake galleon with a slightly mournful air. I haven't got any real galleons to confuse it with. As the first Quidditch match of the season, Gryffindor versus Slytherin drew nearer, the DA meetings were put on hold because Angelina insisted on almost daily practices. The fact that the Quidditch Cup had not been held for so long added considerably to the interest and excitement surrounding the forthcoming game. The Ravenclaws and Hufflepuffs were taking a lively interest in the outcome, for they, of course, would be playing both teams against over the competing year. And the heads of house were competing teams, though they attempted to disguise it in a decent pretense of sportsmanship, were determined to see their side's victory. Harry realized how much Professor McGonagall cared about beating Slytherin when she abstained from giving homework in the week leading up to the match. Love you, bud.